I'm good. I'm good. Let's welcome our audience, and then I'll let you take it away with our special guest today.
Sure.
But we're happy to be back, Senior Solutions. We are your Southeastern Vermont Council on Aging. And today we have a special guest. But before we do that, I just want to remind everybody out there, if you have any issues, if you're 60 or older, and you have any questions about your health care, Medicare, any issues you have, any needs you have, call our helpline, which is 802-885-2669. And our helpline monitors will be very happy to either point you in the right direction, get the answers for you, or help you sign up for whatever you need. So welcome to the show. We think this is a good one. We don't get to talk to a lot of our friends up in the Upper Valley, but today's an exception. So Jim, you want to introduce our guest?
Oh, I am excited to introduce Charlie Degener, who is the town clerk of Woodstock. In fact, I know Charlie quite well. He was one of my students at Green Mountain Union High School, one of my best students, by the way. And he's always been interested in history and politics, and I think he's doing a fabulous job in Woodstock. So the content of our show today is really going to focus on the electoral process, but also ask Charlie some questions about how his community has handled the COVID crisis, because I know they've done an exceptional job. So before I ask Charlie some questions, I wanted to read this statement from Jim Condos, the Secretary of State. The town and city clerks are our election superheroes on the ground. They are sworn election officials who take the conduct of our Vermont elections incredibly seriously. Every ballot that comes in to be counted is received by the clerk or their sworn in election workers. So Charlie, you're a superhero. So
thank you.
Explain your role in the electoral process in voting.
Sure. Every Vermont town clerk is elected by their constituents. There are some towns that have moved to a system where the town clerk is appointed, but generally speaking, all clerks are elected officials. And one of the primary duties of the town clerk in that role is to be the election official for the town. So in Vermont, each town clerk is the head election official for that particular town. And they work in conjunction with the Board of Civil Authority, which is made up of the elected justices of the peace. And those are the election officials on the ground in each town in the state of Vermont. They're responsible for conducting the elections in person, dealing with absentee ballots, maintaining the voter checklist, and all the other election-related tasks in each town.
Great. Charlie, I received this in the mail.
Yes,
yes.
Many of us have.
And you know, I think it's very important for as we vote, to know what to do with this.
Yeah, this is
some of that procedure.
Sure. Some people have voted by absentee ballot before. It's been an option that has been available in Vermont for many years. People who are, unable to come to the polls because they may be traveling, they may be ill or working, or for any number of reasons, people have been able to request absentee ballots. The thing that's unusual is that for this particular election, because of the pandemic, the Vermont legislature and Secretary of State Jim Condos set a system of absentee voting in place where at this election, every registered voter in the entire state of Vermont has been sent an absentee ballot without a request made to their town clerk. That has not been necessary. Everyone has received a ballot. So what Jim Collins has just showed us is the ballot that has been sent out by the Secretary of State's office to every voter, myself included. And when you receive it, there are some simple instructions. I know all the ballots that went out in Woodstock received a little slip of paper that was printed green, and I expect every ballot has the same one. Perhaps it was printed on a different color, but I'm thinking universally it was a green sheet. And there's some fairly straightforward instructions on it. The first thing to note is in the package, you'll have a ballot. And this, of course, is the Woodstock ballot, but many of the races are statewide races, so the ballot will look very similar to everyone's. In Woodstock, we have our justices of the peace on the back side of the ballot, and in your town, that may be the case too. So make sure to check, see if your ballot's double-sided, just like I can see the Chester ballot is. So it's the same ballot that you would receive when you come to vote in person. There are instructions on how to mark the ballot. You can use a pencil, you can use a pen. The thing you may want to be careful of is if you use something like a Sharpie or a magic marker that may bleed through the paper, could create problems if it's read by a machine, and we can discuss that in a moment. It's not a problem that can't be overcome, but it may create some unnecessary issues that could be avoided. So if you find a good pencil, a number 2 is just perfect to use for this. You'll mark the ballot, and there are instructions. For instance, in the first race for president and vice president, vote for not more than one. But there are some races where it's appropriate to select more than one candidate. So for instance, in Windsor County, for state senator, select not more than 3. So you can choose any 3 of the candidates. If you particularly want one candidate, but not all 3, you could vote for just one. If someone you would like to place as a candidate is not listed, you always have the option in any race to mark the write-in section. So you would fill in the oval marked write-in, and then write that person's name legibly there, and your vote will be cast for that person. But the primary thing to remember is not to vote for more than the number of votes that it says. So if you vote for 4, then that particular race would be spoiled, and the elections officials would not count any of your candidates. If you only vote for 1 or 2, that would be just fine. But if you vote for more than the number, that can be problematic. So after you've voted the ballot and followed the instructions on how many to vote for in each instance, and you've made sure to look at the back if that's applicable in your particular town, the ballots are all pre-folded. So you'll fold up the ballot, and then there's a certificate envelope. And this is an important piece of the packet. Sometimes it's not apparent to people that these certificate envelopes are in fact envelopes. It may look like it's just a certificate, but you'll notice that it is indeed an envelope. My lighting's not particularly good, but I think you can see. So you'll want to fill out the front of the certificate envelope. And at the top line, you'll print your name, make that as clear and legible as possible, of course. And then the next line to fill in is the particular town that you're in. So in Mr. Collins' case, it would be Chester. In my case, it would be Woodstock. And then the final item that you need to attend to is the signature. Make sure to sign your name and date it. And then after you've done that, you can take your voted ballot, fold it up, place it right in that envelope. And then be sure to seal it. I'm not actually sealing this one, but I would normally seal it, make sure that it's in the envelope, signed and sealed. And at that point, you can either return this ballot in person to your particular town clerk's office or polling place, or the state of Vermont has included an outer envelope that has prepaid postage on it. And it will be automatically addressed to your particular town clerk's office. So again, I'm sure Mr. Collins' address is Depot Street, Chester, Vermont, or the post office box. Debbie Aldrich may have a post office box.
Post office, yep.
Yep, and ours is addressed right here, Woodstock Town Clerk, 31 The Green, Woodstock, and everyone else will have a ballot particular to their town office. So you can place that certificate envelope that you have voted and you've made sure to sign it and date it, seal it. You can place it right in that mailing envelope with the prepaid postage, and you can send it in the mail, and you can return it that way also. Mail service, I know in Woodstock, the post office is being especially vigilant to make sure that the election mail is going through in a timely fashion, and you know, I'm sure that's the case everywhere. I would give it as much time as you can. So once you are comfortable casting your ballot and you've done so and you are pleased with your decision and you're ready to cast your vote, I would advise you to do it as early as possible so it has time to get there. Ballots will be counted and accepted until 7 p.m. on election day. So it's always best to send it as far in advance as you can, especially if you're sending it in the mail, but they can be returned to your clerk's office. And on the day of the election, the polling places sometimes are at the clerk's offices, but sometimes they're in different locations like a fire station or a town hall or a school building. On the day of the election, you can always bring your ballot in person, give it to an elections official, and it will be received and counted as long as it's received before 7 p.m. on election day. In some jurisdictions, they receive absentee ballots perhaps by a postmark or perhaps at a date that's different than the election. But in the state of Vermont, all the polls close at 7 p.m. on election day. That's universal for every town in the state. And as the ballots, whether they're voted in person or absentee, need to be received by 7 p.m. at the polls.
That's very good information. And this kind of information works for everybody in Windsor and Windham County, correct?
It does. It works for everybody in Windsor, Windham County. But if we should happen to have viewers who are out of those counties, this is universal across the entire state of Vermont.
Great. That's excellent.
Yep.
Thank you so much. This is good.
Well, very good. And let's look at your position in Woodstock, because it's more than just an election official. You've had to really oversee a lot of what has gone on during the COVID crisis. Tell me what kind of experience that has been for you.
Well, it's been a little bit of a challenge. Some of the other primary duties of the town clerks are to maintain the land records and provide register dogs, issue dump stickers in different towns, things like that. Some of the duties vary from town to town, but primarily we're the custodians of the public record, and it can be a challenge to provide access to the public in these times. And different towns across the state have taken different approaches to make that feasible. But here in Woodstock, we've maintained our regular office hours. We've been open to the public with social distancing and hand washing and face masks and that sort of thing. And we've been able to maintain uninterrupted service right here. So people have been able to come in and search titles and look at the deeds and refinance their homes and register their dogs and all the normal tasks. They're a little bit more cumbersome these days, but we're able to keep proceeding with business as usual.
Well, it sounds like they're keeping you pretty busy.
Yes, pretty busy.
That's great. Can I interject something?
Please.
Just wondered, with the COVID situation, and of course, at Senior Solutions, we're interested in a lot of our older population, and understand that the senior center in Woodstock, the Thompson Center, they've been very active, trying to make sure that people still receive food, and doing outside activities under a tent, and trying to keep people engaged so that they don't get lonely. Have you had people contacting your office and asking for any kind of help?
We haven't had a lot of inquiries because we are fortunate. We have resources like Senior Solutions available to us. And as you noted, the Thompson Senior Center here in Woodstock is a very proactive organization, and we're lucky to have them. So many of the things that some of my contemporaries in other towns, the sorts of questions that they're fielding and the services that they're needing to assist people with, we're really quite fortunate here in Woodstock that we haven't been fielding a lot of those calls and issues because the Thompson Senior Center does such an exceptional job, and organizations like Senior Solutions.
Oh, glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. Because I know so many of the senior centers throughout our service area, they don't have a lot of resources.
Right.
And even the Thompson, with all their resources, they have to do a lot of fundraising because
They do.
They can't, we can't get enough federal and state money to pass along to them to fully fund all their activities. So
Yes,
it's a labor of love.
Yep.
And just wanted to give them a shout out.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they appreciate that. Yeah.
And another thing is, a lot of our towns and cities, Vermont towns and cities, the volunteers have stepped up to the plate and have helped their communities. I've been in touch with a number of people affiliated with different charity groups as well as volunteer groups, and it is amazing the effort people are putting in to helping each other out.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Very.
And I'd like to commend your organization. Early on, right off the bat, I received a telephone call from Mr. Collins, and he reached out and said, I'm with Senior Solutions and I'm making many calls, and we want to know what we can do to help and remind you that we're a resource. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for what you do. I know the hours you put in, so it's making a huge difference. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to read one before we conclude, and we can continue a little bit. Okay. I wanted to read one other thing to make our audience feel a little comfortable about voting by mail. All right. This comes from the Secretary of State's office as well. Unlike many other states, Vermont is in a unique position to be able to conduct the November election in this safe and secure manner. Our existing vote by mail procedures put us in position to adapt quickly, and our track record of expert election administration should inspire confidence. After the 2016 general election, Vermont's election administration was ranked first in the country by the MIT Election Data and Science Labs Election Performance Index. So Charlie, you're part of that.
Yes.
And we do thank you.
Well, thank you. Yes. The state is lucky. We've got a lot of good local elections officials, and that's part of the benefit of being in a smaller community and knowing people and having that sort of grassroots organization. I think we have a lot more confidence in our system than perhaps other places where it's a more larger, centralized, faceless entity that people may not have as much confidence in. But here in Woodstock, it's all the 12 justices of the peace that people have elected and known for years, and the town clerk. And I think people do have a sense of security when they cast their ballot.
That's very important.
Very.
It is.
Especially this year, because there's so much confusion.
So let me ask you, Charlie, a personal question, okay? Sure. Why did you get into this field? Because I think it is one that requires a tremendous dedication and commitment to the public. Why did you choose to get into this?
Well, I think as I've discovered with many town clerks, it's a very similar story. It's happenstance. I pursued a master's degree in historic preservation after I got my business degree in college. And then I had a temporary job with the Vermont Division for Historic Preservation in Montpelier, which brought me to Woodstock. And I knew the town clerk casually, and I did some work for a local attorney in town. And when the town clerk needed some help in the office, he approached me and said, I know that you understand how to do title searches and have a pretty good grasp on different things. So I wonder if you'd come in and work for me part-time. And that's what happened. And one thing led to another. And of course, I had excellent training as a youth by Sandy Walker in Chester. I spent quite a bit of time in the town clerk's office there, and she gave me a lot of good guidance in my youth. So that's more or less by happenstance how I came to be in this position, and I certainly enjoy it.
How many years have you been at Woodstock?
I've been the clerk for 4 years, and I was the assistant for 8 years before that. So about a dozen in this office.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
That's
Great.
a lot of history already, and you're still fairly young.
Moderately.
That's excellent. And I just want to make sure that everybody that's in our listening area, and hopefully we're going to be posting this to all the public access television stations throughout the 2 counties. Just want to encourage everybody out there, if you have any questions about voting, call your town clerk.
Yes.
Okay, so, I'm sure they're all, right behind you saying, that's right, Charlie, what you're saying is right. So don't be afraid to call your town clerk and ask whatever questions you need to ensure that you get to the polls, mail your votes, do whatever you need to do correctly and in a timely fashion. They will give you the best advice possible.
Correct. Good.
Wow. Well, it's exciting to connect with you. I've been to Woodstock several times, and I think that you guys have a really good farmers market on the green, don't you?
We do. Yep, every Wednesday through the summer and early fall.
When are they closing? The end of October, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know when this is going to be seen. If it's published before the end of October, there was a wonderful program out this year for the entire month of October. If anybody is on 3 squares, if they take their card to shop at the farmers markets, and I know Woodstock participated, you can go to the information booth, let them take $10 off your card. They will then give you $30 worth of tokens. Instead of just doubling your money as usual, they're tripling your money the month of October.
Wow.
So if anybody out there sees this before the end of October, run to the farmer's market. And it'll do 2 things. It helps the local farmers, and you're going to get the best produce possible. It's a wonderful harvest season, and you're going to save a ton of money. So there you go.
Great. Good advice.
Hopefully they get to see it.
Right.
So what else is new in the Woodstock area, Charlie? Anything new on the horizon?
No, pretty much same as has been going on. Things are a little bit quieter than usual, but that's the case everywhere. People are hunkered down mostly and, trying to adhere to the social distancing and mask guidelines and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm sure that you guys are, on top of everything. And again, I want to remind people in your area and really in every town to check you have a community bulletin board on your website.
We do.
So that they can check that. And also.
And Woodstock has a listserv that is quite active.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
What else can we tell people about that? I also want to make sure that people know to call the Thompson Center if they're interested in doing, Tai Chi or something like that. They can sign up for their newsletter and just be a good neighbor. I think that's what's really made the difference here in Vermont during the COVID pandemic. Like Jim was saying, the care groups, the community groups, just neighbor to neighbor. People, call each other for help. They gather together and provide help. Everybody has really done so much. Probably if everybody took part in the receiving of all the extra food that was made by the local restaurants, community groups, we'd all have gained 15 pounds because everybody pitched in. And I think I remember in the beginning, I think you had some police officers in Woodstock who actually were delivering Meals on Wheels.
We did.
And I don't think enough people know about that. And we have to remember to thank everybody, especially you guys that are in the background organizing it all.
Right. Good. I'm just going to give a plug for a program at Senior Solutions that I'm involved with, just started to be involved, and that's the Pearls program, which really deals with helping our seniors get through some tough times if they're feeling down and out. And we sit down and develop a plan to help them deal with issues that are pulling them down, whether in getting them involved in more activities, socially, etc. It's a fine program, And that's available at Senior Solutions as well.
Yes, and I was so happy that you took the training and you're already seeing several clients. And I think that, it's going to be great. And the more we do it, the better people are going to feel. And once they take part and commit to the program and you work with them and help them with their plans and so forth, I mean, it's a great opportunity for an early intervention before people become really depressed. I'm even myself, there was a time back in, I guess, the end of April, I started to feel isolated. So I can only imagine if I lived on a farm out in the back road, or I had been married for many years and my husband died and now I'm by myself. People don't get depressed overnight. It happens gradually, and loneliness is such an important aspect of that. The fact that we have the Pearls program, that we can help people face, day-to-day obstacles, help give them the tools to overcome them. And I know you're great at that. I almost wanted to sign up for it so that you could come and talk me out of it.
Well, really, it's what I wouldn't call it's really person-centered. We don't tell anybody this is the way to deal with something. We more or less coach the person through issues. So it's really self-discovery, and it works really quite good.
Just like education, right, Jim?
I got Charlie through. What do you think? It's amazing, though, that Charlie's very successful, but there's a number of students that I've had. It's not because of me. It's just because of where they have been located that are either town clerks, town treasurers. I think I have 4 or 5, 6 people that are involved at that level. It's kind of rewarding to see that.
I'm sure it is. I guess you did something right, Jim. Well, Charlie, we have enjoyed chatting with you. Is there anything
you
to mention?
Oh, no, I've enjoyed this also. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, I'd reiterate, the rules are the same across the board for the state, but if you have any particular questions, your town clerk is the best resource. Give them a call. They could tell you the particulars of, sometimes have drop boxes available to leave ballots off in. Some offices are still closed to the public, but only open by appointments. Some offices are open. So if you have any questions, always reach out to your town clerk and they can give you the specifics that pertain to you.
By the way, do you have a phone number you'd like them to call? No obligation.
They can certainly call our office. Our number is 457-3611. And we've got a list of all the town clerks available, so we could refer them to the correct one. Yep.
Perfect. That's wonderful.
Great.
Well, thank you. And we'd love to have you on again sometime if you feel like you survived this interview. We'd love to have you back.
Maybe we could have the battle of the town clerks.
Oh my God, would that be fun? We're gonna have a panel.
Yeah, have a panel.
Great. Well, Charlie, once again, Woodstock's a wonderful community, and you've shared great information on the electoral process that we can promote to all of our communities, and continued success. And I hope you're in Woodstock for another, 20 years.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, Charlie.
Jim, can you stay on for a minute?
Yeah.
We have a few minutes left.
Right.
And I just want you to have an opportunity to talk about some of the other programs in the NCOA, the National Council on Aging Benefits programs. Do you want to mention any of those, or?
Well, I think that at this time, there's a lot of advertisements by independent insurance companies and so forth on Medicare and Medicare Advantage because of the open enrollment period. My suggestion for people that are really confused or need to look and say, gee, do I have the right Medicare plan or do I have the right prescription plan? the independent source to call is Senior Solutions. All right, at what number?
802-885-2669, and say that you would like to make an appointment to talk with our Medicare specialist.
We have people who have had a lot of training, a lot of knowledge, a lot of history dealing with the issues. And go ahead.
In fact, if somebody wants to prep themselves, we had our Medicare specialist, Patty Kimball, was on our last interview. So if people go to either our website, which is www.seniorssolutionsvermont.org, they can click on the series for the BCTV programs and get the Medicare program, or they could go online to the Brattleboro Community Television Station and find us that way. It's Keeping Up with Senior Solutions is the name of our series, and it's easy to access either way. These are YouTube recordings, and they're, very informative. So yes, Medicare open enrollment starts on the 15th of this month, October, and you only have until December 7th to figure out if you want to change your current plan. But you can get a free evaluation. And I know you really think it's a fantastic opportunity for people to learn. And I think so too.
And ultimately save money.
That's the goal. Get the right plan for the right price.
Right.
And we don't make any money on it. We're not selling a product. We are providing information. And Patty is so experienced. She really knows the ins and outs, and she can suggest ideas to you that we've never even realized exist. And especially for any changes that might have come about for this year, she's very terrific at explaining it and what the impacts could be and why you might want to switch something around.
Correct.
So that's a great idea, Jim. Thank you.
Well, some people may be eligible for the Medicare savings plan that they don't even realize they qualify for.
Yeah, who would know? Who would know?
Who would know? So you call Senior Solutions, they'll help you out.
Exactly. Anything, yeah. Oh, don't forget, I want to promote also our home meds program. For those of us over 60, you don't have to be a Senior Solution client or anything, just live in Windsor or Windham County. Call that same helpline number, and we have a nurse case manager who will contact you if you say you want to do the home meds program. And she will come into the home or make an arrangement to do something virtually if she can. And she'll help you go through all your medications, prescriptions, over the counter, herbal remedies, vitamins, you name it, whatever you're taking, because these are virtual chemical cocktails when you're taking them all together. And many times you don't realize it, nor do your doctors realize what you're taking, because you go to several doctors. They can cause very unhappy side effects. You can have a negative, some people may faint when they're driving. Who would know? So you have to get this, it's a free service. The results are then double checked by a geriatric pharmacist. The results are sent to your primary care physician. And then you and your primary care physician can decide what to do. Nobody tells you, oh, you have to stop taking something, but you talk with your doctor. Maybe you just change one prescription so that it has a better mix with the others. There's so many different possibilities.
Absolutely.
It's a real life-saving program. It costs you nothing, and it can make the world a difference. Let's see what else is important. There's so many important things, but most important of all is to know that we care about everybody. And if people are worried about something, pass that worry on to us.
Well, we another feature that we offer, is the companion program. We have a group leadership that deals with matching up volunteers with seniors who feel alone or what have you, that need a telephone call or get together for coffee or what have you. It's an interesting program. So again, you call the helpline and ask about the volunteer program, whether you want to be a volunteer or you need a companion.
That's a good point. We have, and our volunteer coordinator and her team are incredible. She works around the clock matching people up. And during COVID, a lot of people couldn't continue to see each other in person, but they provided shopping services for their friend. And also we have the friendly visitors and the vet to vet visitor program. No necessity of joining any veteran organization. Just be a vet. If you want to volunteer to help an older vet who can't get out anymore, perfect. And they have a great time together.
Right.
And, I mean, you're right. I mean, these are so many nice programs that, thanks goodness, we have the Older Americans Act, which was started years ago, I think with the recognition that many people who have retired, you know, you may get a nice little Social Security and maybe a small pension, but that money that you're getting doesn't cover the escalating costs over the last 20, 15 years. So, you know, take advantage of whatever programs we have. It is not charity. It is something that you guys have earned. And the government has that money to help compensate you for, you know, the revenue that you can no longer go out and get a job. So, you know, take advantage of it. It doesn't take away from any other people. In other words, if you have a young couple that lives down the road from you, maybe they have several children and they're struggling and they're both trying to work and now they're homeschooling, whatever it is. What you receive is from a different pot of federal money. Can't ever go to them. Not if nobody that's over 60 takes a penny, none of that money can go to the younger population. So please, you have done so much for your community. And even if you get 3 squares, that money that you use in 3 squares, you spend it locally, you're helping the local merchants. It's been shown through studies that every dollar you get in 3 squares brings back at least $1.75 into your community. Wow. So you're doing a public service. And call us, you know, please call. There's fuel assistance that people are going to start needing. So you can do, we can sign you up for fuel assistance. We have caregiver respite grants for family caregivers.
Right.
And we also investigate and try to help with self-neglect cases. And that's a real sad and difficult issue to deal with. And it's caused by many different reasons. And we try to really support and encourage the people who are suffering from that. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth the effort. And we have wonderful case managers who listen and care.
So Joanne, what's coming up next in our programs?
Well, and our Fran Freeman is going to be our next guest. We're going to be interviewing her next week, although her show may come on before this one. I'm not sure what the rotation is going to be, so people have to keep checking. But Fran Freeman is in Brattleboro, and she does Reiki. She can do long distance Reiki, which is really important for those of you who know what Reiki is. It's like a hands-on healing of the body, or even just almost, you know, creating a field across your body by someone who is tuned into you and helping you heal. But Fran has actually done this over the phone, long distance with people, and has gotten wonderful results. It helps people center themselves. She's going to be on, she can explain it much better than I can. I don't really know that much personally about Reiki, so I'm really looking forward to the interview.
Right, right.
And then, so that's what we have coming up after this. But I do hope everybody out there will make their best effort to vote this year. no matter how hard it is. Make arrangements to get a ride or whatever. What do you think, Jim?
Yep, I agree.
I know.
Well, I do, and it is, our percent, Vermonters vote. We probably have the highest ratio of a state of people getting out and voting. We all feel that is part of our civic duty, whether you're Republican, Democrat, progressive, whatever. It is your civic duty.
Yes, and you want your voice to
So
be
get
heard.
out and vote.
Absolutely. And I have to say that,
Right.
you know, this information that Charlie shared with us, I think is very comforting. And it's very comforting to know that in Vermont, apparently in Vermont, every vote counts. That we were #1 in the
It
state-
does.
in the country.
It does.
That's very impressive.
The
I'm
data
really
show-
proud of everybody.
Right.
So what do you say, Jim? Should we sign off and we'll see each other again on Tuesday?
We'll see each other again, okay? Maybe one time we're gonna have a surprise. We'll have surprises. I'm counting on Joanne.
Well, every day's an adventure. So everybody out there,
Right.
enjoy the fall, enjoy the weather, get out, take care of each other. And you know, one of my favorite things about voting, I get to see people in town that I haven't seen for a while.
Right, right.
You know, it's really fun. So wear your mask, you know, stay 6 feet apart, use your hand sanitizer. And when you get home, wash your hands really well. And then
Have a good Monday. Have a good Monday. It's a holiday, Monday, right? So,
yeah, this week. And
Right.
so I hope you all have, by the time you see this, you will have had a wonderful 3-day weekend in October. I'm not sure if it's still called Columbus Day or, you know, First Nation Day, but whatever it is, you know, enjoy it and be well. Take care of yourselves. Okay?
Right.
And
Goodbye.
take care. Senior Solutions will be back again.